I am at the University of Kentucky. I teach, this semester I'm teaching a general organic and biological chemistry class to about 250 students who are almost exclusively pre-nursing majors, and I also serve as the director of general chemistry. So I'm also coordinating all of the exams and other things going on with all of our general chemistry students. So what I want to talk about is kind of what it looks like in my classroom and what it looks like outside what it's looking like now. And I'm going to reiterate what Tyler said. This is not the time to redefine everything you do in your classroom. So I already have a flipped classroom. I already had a lot of content recorded before the semester started. So I have a lot of that stuff. But in my classroom, I would have groups of about 60 groups of 3 or 4 students working together in small groups. I had peer mentors that were going around and interacting with them and interacting with me. And I really miss all of that. I miss those interactions with students. You know, it lets me see what they're doing and where they're struggling. And it's just, no matter how much we do online, it's really hard to replace that. So I really am missing that. And I'm sure a lot of us are missing those interactions. Even as an introverted heart, I still like talking to my students. But I had to rethink how I'm going to put this stuff on Canvas and Zoom. How can I make this experience as good as I can with what I have, and also make it reasonable for students. So what I want to look at is first, on the next slide, is looking at kind of how I structured, and similar to what Kevin was saying about giving a structure by day. So because of a flipped classroom already has so many moving parts with the pre-class and in-class and post-class activities, I felt it really important to maintain that structure for students. Before this, when we were kind of in regular mode, I would give a page that had the whole week's worth of activities. So here's what you need to do before Monday and before Wednesday and before Friday. Here's what we're doing each day in class. Now that we're going to this remote learning, I've actually moved this to a daily list of activities. So it gives some students some structure. I think it's really important for students to have that structure. When you just say, hey, do this whenever you want, I think a lot of it doesn't get done, and students really need that system in place. They've gone from having classes at specific times of day and kind of having all of that in their lives to basically no structure whatsoever. So keeping that list of activities, checklist of what to do is really important. But I think it's also important that we recognize that we need to be flexible. There are going to be some students that life happens. We had storms go through Kentucky, so Wi-Fi went out. We have students who are working in healthcare, so they have different schedules right now. So being flexible on that. But the way I've set up my class, and so I'm using PlayPosit, which I've always used for my pre-class lessons. Students can watch those, then they can follow up with questions and things like that. There are integrated questions with those. For my in-class assignments, and that's what I'm going to talk a little bit more about after this, about how I kind of structured those. But I have been adding a video for each class day. And I don't have a studio. I have my, iPhone and standing in front of a wall to record these. So that way students can actually see me, because in my PlayPosit lessons, those are all screencasts. So they hear me, but they don't see me. And I also think it's important for students to get that connection to their instructors now. They're missing out on seeing people just as much as we are. So I do record a video where at the beginning I'll talk about what's going on, what we're doing, just kind of so they can see me, and then talk a little bit more about what we're going to be doing, kind of similar to what I would do at that first 5 or 10 minutes at the beginning of class when we actually were there in person. And then we have group activities, and those would normally be done in class. I have lots of sets of those, of paper activities, so I've had to kind of reimagine and rethink a little bit about how I'm going to do those online. And then I follow up each day with a sapling homework. So I already have my sapling homeworks divided out among each day's content. And if you're using sapling or whatever homework you're using, you don't have to reset all that up or divide them, but just let students know. Say, hey, after you cover sections 10.1 and 10.2, you should be able to do these problems on sapling or your homework, just to kind of give them some structure so they don't feel like they are floundering. So what I want to take the next few minutes to look at is looking at some of the activities. And so the first one is looking at Tarsia puzzles. So this is one of my favorite types of activities. There's actually a free program that you can build this in my, there's a link to my website where you can get information about that later on. But I think it's also useful to see how I'm doing this now. So normally I would have these in bags. I'd hand a bag out to each group and they'd all work on it together and upload a picture to Canvas. So I've kind of done a couple of different things here. These puzzles become triangle pieces, or they come as triangles, obviously, and then the students have to assemble this puzzle. They don't get the solution here. This is what they would upload. So for some students, I was able to post copies of this, for the copies of the pieces for them to print and cut, and that works great. But I found out I have a fair number of students without access to a printer. So on the next slide, what you'll see is that I've actually made a digital version of this. Okay. Maureen, can you click to the next? Sorry. Yeah, there we go. So I've made a digital version of this so students can still do the matching and do this. And I built this on flippity.net, which integrates with Google Docs. And this is also free. As you'll see, a lot of my resources you'll find I like to use the free resources when I can. And so what I see is that students can do this activity. They can then upload a screenshot of that to Canvas. These activities in class are all participation based. So as long as they've done it or made a reasonable attempt, they're going to get the points. This is not a huge portion of their grade, but it gets that practice in that they need. And if a student is struggling, they can take a picture, post it on my Piazza message board or email me, and I can say, oh, well, here's where you made a mistake. That's what you need to do differently. So giving options for students, recognizing that we do have students without printers available in their homes, so we need to make sure we have multiple ways to do this. A lot of these things could have just as easily been done in a worksheet, but this is far more interesting to do than just that. And I do have a link to these activities on my website, so you're welcome to take them, steal them, borrow them, use them however you want. Another type of activity that I look at is domino games. And these are fun. Again, they're solving problems, but they're also adding that self-checking aspect. And that's a big thing for me when I have so many groups. I don't have time to go around to every group and check in. Did you get this right? Did you get this problem right? So having an activity that provides some sort of self-checking lets them kind of know they're on the right path. And domino games are great for that. So there's a starting point and an ending point. There's a question that gives, and when they get that answer, if they can't find that on one of the other domino pieces, then they don't have the right answer, so they know to look further and to try again. So this is, again, we've got a print and cut version, so I can provide these pieces for them to print out. And I also made a digital version, which is shown on the next slide, and it has it's built in Google Slides, so everything you see from the instructions, solve the first problem, that and up is all the background of that Google slide. And then the pieces at the bottom are actually movable images. So students can pull this up. It does force a copy into their Google account, so that way they're not all editing the same version, they're all editing their own version. And then they can drag and drop those problems or cards from the bottom into the puzzle pieces up above and solve those problems as they go through. Again, it lets them check their work as they go along. I had them upload a screenshot of this to Canvas so I can see they're working on it. And it's just a way to make sure that every student can do this. And because it's through Google Slides, it's actually compatible with any device, whether it be a tablet or a computer. Okay. The next type of activity that I'll show you is probably my favorite. And like Tyler said, this is definitely not one of those times to reinvent the wheel. I love escape rooms. When I've surveyed students, this is also one of their favorite type of activities. You can do this on any topic, adapt for any level of course, as hard or as easy as you want, whatever the case may be. But I will tell you, these take a lot of time. So this is not the time to build escape rooms, but I share this with you now because there are a lot of these that are already out there and built that you can use on your own. So this is a time to look for new ones, and I've got a link to a couple of mine on my website. So this is an example of one of the kind of puzzles that students would solve. They drag and drop the images at our top. This is another Google slide. They drag and drop those words at the top, and there's one letter in there that solves a lock, and they plug that in. So again, it's that self-checking activity, and I think that's one of the most important things that students need. They have to know that they're doing okay. They have to know that they're on the right track, because sometimes if they go do 20 problems and then realize they did them all wrong, we've reinforced that error. So we want to make sure they're getting some way to check themselves as they go along. And with these participation activities, by just doing it, there's no fear of, if I make mistakes, I'm going to lose points. That if they get it wrong, that's okay. They can just do it again and figure out where they need to go. So it takes all of that stress off of it because it is participation based, and it gives them a way to check it. And it's more fun than doing a worksheet. So my escape room might have 3 or 4 puzzles they have to solve, and so that way they can do that. And the last slide has my favorite motto, and this is something I use no matter what the circumstances are, no matter what's going on, whether we're in regular instruction or not, but that is done is better than perfect. I by no means have done anything probably that is perfect. I've seen things that I've done and go, well, I can probably do that better now. And I redo those videos and things like that. But right now, it's just getting something done. When I record that short video to interact with my students that's fresh and active, I'm talking about it, I'm doing it right now so they know I'm live at the moment, although it's recorded, but I've recorded it in recent history. And it's done on my iPhone. It's not great. It's not perfect. I might stutter. I might make a mistake, and that's okay. It gives them the information that they need. Using existing activities is a big thing. The Mila website is there. You're welcome to go there, use anything you want. If there's something you go, hey, maybe she's done an activity on this topic, feel free to reach out to me. I have other stuff. I just don't have everything posted on my website as of yet, but I'm happy to share any of my resources. Another resource I would encourage you to look at is Teachers Pay Teachers. This is primarily targeted at K through 12 teachers, but I found teaching a GOB class or even a general chemistry class, there's a lot of content there that's applicable to what we're doing in some of our chemistry courses. And so even if it's not applicable to the content, you can get ideas for different types of activities that you can use. So I thanks for your time, and good luck in all of this remote learning, and I hope we all come out better for it on the other side. So thank you.